Hey everyone! So I had a student ask me about how to do something in Unity, and which is just, by the way, I am your teacher. It's a totally valid thing to do. If you want to ask me a question, you can ask me a question anytime you'd like. And he asked me how to do this, and I was like, you know what? That'd be a cool thing to give you a little preview of. Okay, now this is not anything that you're gonna need to do anytime soon, but hey, whatever. Like I'm gonna throw out this recording, and if you want to watch it, that'd be cool. Give you some enrichment. And it may lead you somewhere. You may think about something cool you want to do with Unity. So let's jump into Unity. So I'm going to jump into just a regular Unity 4.6. We're going to start a new project. Let me get rid of all this stuff and just go to File, New Project, and we're just going to create a new 3D project. Now you can do this in 2D or 3D. Doesn't matter. It's pretty much going to do the same thing. So new project 2. So we should have an empty assets folder. Remember, assets are everything that goes into a game. It can be scripts, it can be objects, doesn't matter. So we have this big blank 2D world or 3D world, right? So this is like if there was nothing in the game, we hit play and same thing, right? There's nothing at all. Now, the reason it looks like a 2D plane is because you haven't set up the camera yet. When you hit play, we're not going to do cameras today. Cameras are fun. But we don't want to do that today. So that's your camera right there, actually. So your camera is looking right down at this 2D plane, which is why you don't see anything. But first thing you need to do every time you create a new project is go to File and go to Save Scene. All right, and what this is going to do is it's going to create your first scene. So we'll just do Test. We're going to hit Save, and now we have our first scene here, okay? And you must have a scene or you can't do anything. All right, so now what this person asked me to do is how do I create shapes and things, and then how do I change their color? How do I actually change, colors in Unity? And the way you do that is by creating something called a material. So everything in any video game, anything that covers anything else is called a material. It's not called a color, it's not called paint, it's called a material. So let's create a new material. And the way we create anything is to right click inside of our assets folder, go to create, and then do, where is new material? There it is, new material. It's like 6 down, 7 down. New material. And you're going to have this little ball, and it's just going to look like a blank sphere. Now, you got like a little preview area here. They'll show you what it looks like depending on different lights and stuff, which is important. Think about it. When you're creating a 2D game or 3D game, it's very important how something looks when the light's on it. So it's kind of cool. Unity has this little preview down here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to call it new material, and it's sitting right there. And we're going to use this in just a second, but the first thing we want to do is change its color. So let's say we want this one to be green. I don't know. Let's do green. All right, we want it to be this cool green color, and we hit X. All right, now we're going to create one more material. All right, and the cool thing about being able to create your materials in your assets folder and just leave them here is you can actually drag and drop them and use them over and over. So that way, if you have two objects in a game and you want them to look exactly the same, to have the exact same material, then you have it because you have your material named, right? And so we'll rename this one to ground, just because I'm going to use that for the ground. Let's click on it. Let's go up here to our inspector, click the white, and let's find like a kind of a brown color. That's brown. So remember, the inspector up here, I didn't highlight this piece in our first basics tutorial. The inspector is where you're going to be able to do pretty much anything with anything you click on. All right, that's a really good way of putting it. If you click on something, you're probably going to use the inspector to edit it. Okay, now what we're going to learn pretty soon is how you can go into the script and go into coding, and you can actually create things over here in the inspector for you to edit. But we're not going to do that yet. So all of these, like the main color, is built into this object. Okay, so we have this material. We have two materials created, but now we need actual objects in our game. So the way we're going to do that, it's pretty easy. It's a little bit different. So rather than right clicking down here in our assets folder, we're going to go up to the top menu and go to the one that says game object. All right, and this is how you're going to import any objects into your game. Now normally you would have created these objects on, say, Blender, right? And you can import them in, but we're just going to import some defaults. So go to 3D object, and then you can go down to plane, and there it is. There is our new plane. So we've got this cool new plane, and we can can I hover under it? I can't remember. Yeah, we can move it. All right, let's move the plane where we want it. Now we want it to go down. Let's just put it right here. All right, there's our plane, but it's kind of plain, right? So it's kind of boring. But how cool is this? And remember, watch this. You click on it, look in your inspector. You can change anything about this thing that you want, okay? And if you can't find what you want to change about this thing, then you can go to this, you can create a script, you can write it, you write a code, write a piece of script, attach it to this object, and then you can change whatever you want about it, which is really cool. But we're gonna learn about that later. So, what we are gonna do is we're gonna click off of it right here, click down in your assets folder so you're not focusing on it. We're gonna click on our grab material, and we're gonna drag it over to the plane and let it go. And now, it's brown, see? And you can tell that this object, this material, has been applied to this object, which is pretty cool. So now let's create another one. Let's bring another one in. Game object, 3D object, and let's put a sphere. All right, now you can't see the sphere because it's under the thing. So let's bring it up. There we go. Grab this little, you can grab this arrow right here, and we'll bring it right up on our ground, about right there. Now, one thing you'll notice as I'm doing this is you can see, do you see the values changing and transform up there inside of your inspector? You can see those values changing. You can actually change those manually, and I'll do that right now. So what if we set the sphere equal to 0 for Y? Now this plane is sitting right on the ground. So let's take our sphere and let's put it at 0 as well. But it sets it to the middle. Now that's because of something called the origin point, which again, we're not going to learn yet. But the origin point of this ball is in the very center, but you'll learn how to change that in a few lessons from now. All right, so let's see if I can get this ball a little bit better on the surface there, a little bit closer. There we go. And then now we need to change the color of this ball. Click off, same thing we did. Grab our material and drag it onto the ball. And you can even see like, oh, I can turn the plane green. And there it is. Yay. Now we can change all sorts of things about this ball. For example, cast shadows. So see, if we had a camera set up or a light set up, we could say whether or not we wanted to cast shadows. We can choose whether or not we want to use gravity on this object. We can choose whether or not it goes through this plane or it sits on this plane. Now, given the camera angle that I have, which is like really not in the right place, this is what it looks like when we hit play. But we're gonna learn all about cameras. All right, we are gonna learn all about cameras. See, here's our camera. We can move it. Let's see if I can get it in frame here. Watch this. Yeah, the cameras are funky. I always set up my own cameras. I never ever use the default Unity cameras, but you guys are gonna use the default Unity cameras just for now. Let's see if we can get this thing in the middle frame. So now we've got our, there we go. Now we've got our cool camera focused, and then we hit play. And now we're looking at our ball sitting on our plane. So it's pretty cool. So some really basic stuff with Unity, okay? And like I said, this is, even what I just showed you is pretty far out there, but I wanted to show this student how to do it, and anybody else who wants to play around with Unity and create 3D objects and make them look cool. So just by using these skills right here, you could create a whole scene, a whole 3D scene in Unity, publish it, and then like give it to somebody, and they could open up it on their computer and they could look at your scene. So that'd be really cool. So I hope that this was interesting or terrifying or whatever. Just let me know in an email and I'll send you out with something else. But other than that, good luck, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.